Welcome to Project Porsche.
This is your focus leader. Adjust the focus until the picture is sharp. Now adjust the sound to a normal volume.
Hey everyone, welcome to Project Porsche, where I fix up and modify my 924S. Last time I ran the power lock wiring to each door, and next I'll finish that wiring, finish fabricating the linkage, and get this kit dialed in and working. I'm going to do a test to make sure the system is working before I finish the install. So here I'm just hooking up the 5 wires that go to the driver's side solenoid. So the way this works is the driver's side solenoid acts as a switch. So if you pull the lock up, pull and lock seal the door. Push on it, it switches the locks closed. On top of that, you can add a switch if you want, and all you have to do is put a momentary switch between the white and brown wires. You can see here, if I tap these 2 wires together, the locks actuate. They go up or they go down. They just need to make contact, and both locks go up and down. And there's also a white and brown wire coming off of the wire harness that you can hook a switch up to inside the car if you want to also. Even though I already had to extend the harness, I had to add more wire for the passenger side. And so here I just decided to add some extra wire onto the passenger side solenoid. Someday, if the passenger side needs to be replaced, they'll have to either add some wiring onto it or figure it out then. But for now, I just added it onto that. So here I am, I'm putting some of the 1/2-inch wire loom over the passenger side wires, connecting the plugs, and then putting some heat shrink tubing over them for extra protection against moisture and any contaminants that might get inside the door. I did a double layer of heat shrink, one on top of the plugs, one on top of the wire loom to keep it secured. Here I'm figuring out how I'm going to run and secure that wiring. So the factory has placed these studs that they have spot welded along the bottom of the door, I assume for factory wires or other factory parts. So I'm going to utilize those studs, and I decided to try these zip ties, and they actually work pretty good. I did, however, end up turning them around and facing them the other way when I'm finished, but you get the idea. Oh, I should show you the underside. This is a shot underneath that pipe where you can see the GE caulk oozing out underneath the bottom. I wanted to show you guys this so you kind of got an idea of how it looked underneath there and how I kind of matched what the factory stuff looked like. So finally over here I'm connecting the 2 hot power wires. One is a step-up gauge and the other one, and I'm just connecting them both here with a yellow ring terminal, and then heat shrinking the ring terminal on the wires, sealing that up with the heat gun. If you don't have a heat gun, you can get a pretty inexpensive one at Harbor Freight. That's where I got mine. I wrapped some electrical tape around there just so I could easily get the shrink tubing on there that I forgot to put on there. And then I take the tape back off, and with the heat gun I shrink that stuff back down again. So here I already did add some extra wire in to the harness for that black wire. I decided to mount my negative ground terminal right there on the side of that metal bracket for the back glass opening switch. And so here I'm just putting that ring terminal on the wire, clamping it down with the size blue space on the pliers, and shrinking that down too with the heat shrink. And then here I'm adding some extra heat shrink just for protection. I used my Dremel and I ground the paint off of there with the disc so that I had metal to metal contact with that terminal. Here I'm covering that black wire up with some more 1/4-inch wire loom that I got off of Amazon and sealing the end with a cigarette lighter. So there's my negative ground terminal and my ground wire to body. So I found this screw, which I kind of like the flat head on it, but it was just a little too long, so I stuck it in the vise and cut the end off of it. And I used that screw to secure the negative wire to the bracket. And with the ground hooked up, I can finally attach the positive wires to the battery. So I wanted to protect the anodized finish that came on these rods, so I tried bending them with some sort of protection, cardboard or rags. These rods bend easily, but the anodizing will flake off, so I tried to avoid that as much as possible. So this is the first design, and here's my heat shrink that I put on the end for some extra, like a bushing I guess I would call it, take up some extra space in that solenoid. Putting it all back together so I can test it, putting the latch on there. There's a switch inside the driver's side solenoid. Lock works. Unlock doesn't work. And you have to have the travel in the right spot. Otherwise, the solenoid won't stay in the right position. It wouldn't unlock and stay unlocked. It pulls itself back down. So after walking around in a circle and thinking about it for a while, I decided that I'm gonna try shortening that rod and see how that works. Also though, I realized that I'm gonna bend this differently. I was on the porch with Charlotte, feeling love down to my toes, and we were swinging. Yeah, we were swinging. That didn't work. I think I'm gonna go do this in the vise. I decided to turn the end of the rod into more of a hook. I needed to do it that way so it would clear the parts inside the door, and then also it just seemed more secure. So that's my template, and then I make a couple more after that one. Yeah. David Bowie, baby! And crumble like a flower. Boy, am I glad I left that in there. I shortened this rod up a little bit, and that seemed to do the trick. Now what I'm gonna do is, because this one's kind of beat up from bending it 3 or 4 different times, now I'm gonna make a new one out of one that I haven't used yet. So I went to work and made my 2 rods. This is the first one that I made. This is the second one. It's a lot nicer. And I really kind of pushed it to its limit, so hopefully it lasts. But yeah, you can see that this is what we got. And then I put some electrical shrink tubing that I bought, the same stuff that I've used in all the other videos. After I finish bending those rods, I reassemble everything, and I find another problem that I need to fix. When the solenoid was pushing itself up and down, it was kind of cocking itself, and so I realized what I needed to do is I needed to change the angle of the solenoid a little bit, and that way when the lock goes up and down, it stays relatively straight. So I decided to put a slot in the door, and I'm just going to take a cutting disc and connect those holes and go from there. That way there's a little bit of adjustment for the solenoid if it ever needs it. I used a little lacquer thinner, mineral spirits, cleaned up the door, shot it with a little primer, and then laid a layer of old school Duplicolor, got it years ago off of a discount shelf. I put a bolt in the top screw, and I rocked the solenoid back and forth on that bolt until I liked the way that this rod and the solenoid was acting, staying straight and unlocking everything and working perfectly, and now it does work perfectly. I'm going to put a screw with a washer on it to ensure that that thing doesn't move. And in the end, that works out well. It makes the lock function correctly. So here we are on the passenger side. You can see I've already got the handle hooked up, and it works good, just like it should. So there it is, guys. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell next to the subscription button so you get notified when my new videos are released, where I continue work on these doors, finish my soundproofing, finish my custom speaker install, and get these doors put back together. So when I close it, does the other one over there, you can hear it. One more. So it's working good. Next episode, I'm gonna take apart and fix this flag style mirror. And thank you to all my subscribers. I really appreciate the support. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.
This is pretty much the worst video ever made.
Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh.